People say a single moment can flip your entire life upside down. Mine happened on a night I wasn't meant to be seen by anyone important, especially not my boss. I thought a blind date would help me forget my hopeless crush on her. Instead, she appeared out of nowhere, looked straight into my eyes, and asked the one question I never imagined: why didn't you try asking me out on a date? And from that moment on, nothing between us stayed the same. I had never planned on dating anyone that week. Work was overwhelming, deadlines were tight, and I barely had enough time to sleep. But my best friend Adam insisted that I go on a blind date he set up. "Bro, you need someone in your life. You'll thank me later," he kept saying. I didn't have the courage, and I definitely didn't have the energy, to refuse him anymore. So I ended up sitting in a small cozy cafe on a rainy evening, waiting for someone I'd never met. My heart wasn't in it though. Because the only woman I actually wanted was the one I worked for. She was my boss, Clara Hayes, a woman who walked with quiet confidence, who smiled rarely but beautifully, who carried a storm and a sunrise in the same breath. I admired her more than I should. But she was my boss. My unreachable star. My impossible dream. Someone completely out of my league. While waiting for my date to arrive, I kept glancing at the entrance. I wasn't nervous, I was just trying to distract myself from the fact that I didn't want to be there at all. I wanted to be somewhere else. I wanted to be with someone else. Someone I shouldn't want. When the bell above the cafe door chimed, I looked up casually, and then froze. Clara walked in, not in her CEO aura, not in her elegant office clothes, just jeans, a loose beige sweater, her hair tied in a low bun. Simple. Natural. Beautiful. Too beautiful to be here. Too beautiful to be real. She scanned the cafe, probably searching for a table, and when her eyes landed on me, the shock on her face mirrored mine. Before I could look away, she started walking toward me. With each step she took, my heartbeat hammered harder. "What are you doing here?" she asked softly when she reached my table. I swallowed hard, trying to calm my voice. I'm on a blind date." Her eyebrows lifted just barely, but the disappointment in her eyes was unmistakable. "A blind date," she repeated, almost like she was tasting the words and didn't like the flavor. "Yes. A friend set it up," I said, forcing a small smile. "I'm just waiting." She stared at the empty seat across from me, her expression unreadable, her lips pressed slightly together. Then she looked at me again and asked the question that made my breath stop: "Why didn't you try asking me out on a date?" For a moment, everything in the cafe, the soft music, the clinking cups, the rain against the windows, faded to silence. My brain struggled to understand if she was joking, teasing, or serious. I felt my world tilt. "Wait, what?" I whispered. She looked down at the table, fingers lightly brushing the surface as if steadying herself. "You never asked," she said quietly. And I always wondered why. My heart only knew how to race. I lowered my eyes because I couldn't meet her gaze anymore. "Because you're my boss," I finally said. "And because I thought someone like you would never look at someone like me." There. My truth. All of it. When I dared to look up again, I saw something soften in her eyes, something like pain. "Or maybe regret." "You seriously believe that?" she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "That I'd never look at you?" I didn't know how to answer. So I didn't. I stayed silent, hoping silence wouldn't ruin everything. Before either of us could speak again, the woman who was supposed to be my blind date finally walked in and headed straight toward me. She waved, smiling brightly, oblivious to the emotional storm happening at my table. "Oh. You must be Daniel," she said cheerfully. Clara stepped back immediately, her expression closing off, her guards going back up like a fortress rebuilt in seconds. "Enjoy your date," she said quietly, her voice too polite to be natural. Then she turned around and walked toward the exit while my chest clenched painfully. I wanted to run after her. Call her name. Stop her. Tell her everything I had buried for so long. But I was frozen in place between what I came for and what my heart truly wanted. My blind date sat down, still talking, still smiling, but I heard none of it. All I could think about was the hurt in Clara's eyes before she walked away. That night, I went home with a heaviness I'd never felt before. I kept replaying the moment she asked that question: "Why didn't you try asking me out on a date?" Why didn't I? Because I was afraid. Because I didn't believe I was enough. Because I assumed she'd never see me the way I saw her, but maybe. I was wrong. The next morning at work, the air felt different. Every step toward her office felt heavier. When I finally reached her door, I hesitated before knocking. When she said come in, her voice was steady, but I wasn't. She didn't look up from her paperwork when I entered. Good morning, I said softly. Morning, she replied, still not looking at me. I think we should talk. She paused, pen hovering above the document. There's nothing to talk about, Daniel, she said gently. Your personal life is your personal life. It's not, I said, more desperate than I intended. Not when it affects you. That made her finally look at me. Her eyes flickered with something I couldn't describe. I didn't mean to interfere, she said. I was just surprised. That's all. No, I whispered. You were hurt. The silence that followed confirmed I wasn't wrong. I took a slow breath, heart pounding. Clara. I didn't ask you out because I didn't think I deserved to. I thought I'd embarrass myself. But last night made me realize something. I don't want blind dates. I don't want chances that don't mean anything. I want something real. And the only person I've wanted was you. Her lips parted slightly, her eyes softening with emotion. You're saying this now, she whispered, after I saw you on a date with someone else. Because seeing your reaction made me understand, I said, stepping closer. I wasn't the only one holding back. She inhaled slowly, looking down at her hands. You scared me, she admitted. I didn't expect to feel something when I saw you with another woman. But I did. Then let me make it right, I said. Let me ask you properly. She finally met my eyes again. Ask me what? I took one more step toward her, close enough to feel her breath. Will you go on a date with me? I asked softly. A real one. Not because of a blind setup. Not because of work. But because I choose you. She didn't answer right away. But her eyes held a warmth I had never seen before. And then, slowly, she smiled, a small, breathtaking smile. Yes, she whispered. I'll go with you. My entire world lit up later that evening, as we walked side by side out of the office building, no longer boss and employee, but two people choosing to try. She stopped in the elevator, turned to me, and said with a playful smile, next time, don't wait for me to find you on a blind date. Just ask. I smiled back. I promise. And somehow, that promise didn't feel scary anymore. It felt like the beginning of everything.